So, today we're diving into the incredible story of Raṭṭhapāla. Now, this was a young man in ancient India who had, well, pretty much everything you could ever dream of. We're talking immense wealth, a super powerful family, loving parents, you name it, he had it. But one day, just one single encounter was about to change his life forever. And that really is the question at the heart of this whole story, isn't it? It kind of challenges everything we think we know about what a good life is supposed to look like. I mean, what could possibly drive someone to just walk away from all that comfort, all that wealth, all that love, and choose a path that's all about hardship and uncertainty? Well, let's find out. Okay, so our story really kicks off when the Buddha happens to visit Raṭṭhapāla's hometown. And like tons of other people, Raṭṭhapāla goes to hear him speak. But for him, this wasn't just some interesting lecture. No, these words hit him as a profound truth, something that resonated so deep inside him, it sparked this unshakable calling. And the clarity he had in that moment is just, wow. It's striking. He immediately got it. He saw that his current life, filled with all its attachments and worldly pleasures, was a direct roadblock to the ultimate freedom the Buddha was talking about. For him, there was no gray area, no middle ground. So he goes to his parents, probably thinking they'll understand. But they don't. Not at all. Their reaction is just pure love mixed with absolute terror, They've given him the world, and the idea of him just leaving, they say it's worse than the thought of him dying. He asks 3 times, and 3 times, with breaking hearts, they say no. This is where Raṭṭhapāla makes a really drastic move. He just lies down on the bare floor of his house and refuses all food and water. His ultimatum couldn't be simpler or more absolute. Either you let me become a monk or I will die, right here on this floor. And for 7 straight days, he starves himself while his family and friends are just begging him to give up. In the end, it's actually his friends who break the stalemate. They come to his parents with this painful but very logical choice. Look, they say, if he becomes a monk, maybe you'll see him again. If he hates it, he might even come back. But if he dies here from starvation, that chance is 0. You'll never see him again. And faced with that unbearable reality, his parents finally give in, but with one condition. You have to promise to visit us again someday. So Raṭṭhapāla leaves. He becomes a monk. And through years of diligent practice, he actually does it. He attains enlightenment, the ultimate goal. And, being true to his word, he decides it's time to go back to his hometown and fulfill that promise to his parents. But as you can imagine, the home he's returning to isn't quite the one he left. The change in him is just immediately obvious when he gets back. He shows up at his own house, a simple monk with a begging bowl, and nobody even recognizes him. In fact, his own father, not knowing who he is, insults him and tells him to get lost. It's only when a servant girl hears his voice and recognizes it that the family freaks out. His father rushes outside only to find his now enlightened son sitting by a wall eating stale porridge that was about to be thrown in the trash. His father is desperate. He wants his son back, so he tries the only thing he really knows, wealth. He unveils this giant mountain of gold and treasure and says, "It's all yours. Just come home." But Raṭṭhapāla doesn't see treasure. He sees it for what it is, a source of suffering. He tells his father to just dump it all in the river. Next up, they send in his former wives to try and tempt him. They get all dressed up, fall at his feet and ask him, what kind of heavenly beings could possibly be worth giving us up for? And Raṭṭhapāla just looks at them and calls them sisters. That one word shows just how completely his whole perspective has shifted. The emotional gap between them is so huge, they literally collapse in shock. Before he leaves his family for the last time, he recites a few verses that just cut right to the heart of his new understanding. He sees the human body not as something to desire, but as this decorated puppet, an impermanent, stitched-together thing that has no real lasting substance. His entire perception of the world has been fundamentally rewired. Well, as you might expect, the story of the enlightened monk who gave up a fortune starts to spread. It eventually reaches the local ruler, King Korabya, and the king is fascinated. He seeks Raṭṭhapāla out because he just has to know, why would someone so young, so healthy, and so rich choose a life like this? And this conversation leads to the main teaching of the whole story. The king kicks things off his own theory, and it's based on pretty solid worldly logic. He says, look, People usually renounce for one of four reasons. They get old and can't enjoy things anymore, they get really sick, they lose all their money, or they lose all their friends and family. But, as the king himself points out, none of these apply to Raṭṭhapāla, so what was the real reason? And Raṭṭhapāla agrees with the king. He says, "You're absolutely right. I didn't leave because my life fell apart. In fact, he left because his life was perfect on the outside. But he understood something much deeper." He tells the king he renounced because of four fundamental truths he learned from the Buddha. And here we go. This is the absolute core of our explainer today. These aren't just reasons for becoming a monk. They are really profound observations about the very nature of existence itself. The first truth. To explain it, Raṭṭhapāla asks the king to think back to his own youth. "How strong were you at 25, he asks. The king says he felt invincible. Then Raṭṭhapāla asks, "And what about now, at age 80? The king has to admit he's frail and weak. That, Raṭṭhapāla says, is what this truth means. The world and every single one of us in it is constantly being swept along toward decay. Nothing lasts. The second truth. Raṭṭhapāla asks the king, "Imagine you're terribly sick. Could you command your family to share your pain, to take a piece of it for themselves?" The king replies, "Of course not. I have to bear it all by myself." And that's the point. When it comes to our deepest suffering, we are ultimately alone. There's no real shelter from it, and we have no real mastery over our own bodies. On to the third truth. Raṭṭhapāla asks the king, "All your vast treasures, can you take them with you when you die?" The king says no, of course not. Others will inherit his wealth, and he'll move on based on his past actions. This means we don't truly own anything. We're just temporary caretakers. In the end, we have to leave it all behind. And finally, the fourth truth. This one's a biggie. Raṭṭhapāla asks the king, a powerful ruler of a prosperous kingdom, what would you do if a trusted messenger told you there was another rich kingdom across the sea, ripe for the taking? And the king admits, without even hesitating, we would conquer it. This, Raṭṭhapāla explains, shows that the world is inherently lacking. No matter how much we get, it's never enough. We are insatiable, forever slaves to craving more. So when you take these four truths and put them all together, they point to one really sobering conclusion. This endless chase for more power, more wealth, more pleasure, it's a game that you can never, ever win. It promises satisfaction, but the final score is always a big, fat zero. In his final words to the king, Raṭṭhapāla sums up this whole human condition in a beautiful poem. He talks about the wealthy who are just driven by delusion to keep accumulating more and more, and about kings who conquer the entire known world, only to find themselves staring out at the ocean, wanting whatever's on the other side. And he brings the focus right to that final moment, the moment of death. When we die, our loved ones might cry for us, but all the things we spent our entire lives collecting, our money, our family, our status, they're all powerless. They can't protect us, and they certainly can't come with us. And this right here is the final takeaway. If wealth and worldly things are fleeting and can never truly satisfy us, then real value must be somewhere else. Raṭṭhapāla's conclusion is simple. Wisdom, truly understanding the nature of things, is infinitely more valuable than wealth, because it's the only thing that can lead to a real, lasting end to suffering. And so the story of the young man who left everything, well, it leaves us with a question for ourselves. This isn't really about becoming a monk. It's about perspective. If we really, truly knew that everything we're holding on to is temporary, what becomes truly important? What is really worth our precious time and our energy? And that's a question only you can answer.